So, you will destroy them? No, we will remove their ability to threaten anyone ever again. She gestured. And a holographic display appeared showing the Kriri Empire. Our forces are currently dismantling every military installation in their space, every shipyard, every weapons factory, every military academy, every research facility developing weapons. When we are finished, the Krivari will not be able to wage war. Not on us, not on anyone. Zilthan looked at the display. Red markers showed human forces at dozens of locations across Kriri space. You are destroying their entire military capacity. Yes. What of their civilian population? They will not be harmed. Elena's voice was firm. Our rules of engagement are absolute. Civilian targets are forbidden. Every soldier in our military knows that harming non-combatants is a crime that will be punished severely. We are not murderers. High Arbiter. We are not monsters. From another platform, a different counselor spoke. Its body was made of flowing energy, constantly shifting. The Krivari Supreme Command has refused to surrender. They say they will fight to the last warrior.
Elena nodded.
We expected this. They do not believe they can lose. They have never lost before. So we will teach them how. We have deployed weapons that we hoped we would never use. Self-replicating machines that consume military infrastructure. Gravity projectors that can collapse shipyards into themselves. Automated hunter systems that pursue fleeing warships across light years. She paused. We invented these weapons decades ago. We sealed them away because they were too terrible. The Krivari have given us no choice but to use them. The chamber was silent. Elena could see the representatives calculating, imagining what such weapons could do if turned on their own civilizations. You should all understand something, she continued. We do not want this. We never wanted this. Every weapon we deploy, every Krivari soldier we kill costs us something. She continued. We do not want this. We never wanted this. Every weapon we deploy, every Krivari soldier we kill costs us something. Our soldiers do not enjoy killing. Many of them will carry scars from this war for the rest of their lives. Some will never fully recover. She looked around the room again. This is what you did not understand about our monuments and our poetry and our protests. We hate war not because we are weak, but because we know what it costs. We know what it does to the people who fight it. We know what it does to our own souls. The Voxy counselor who had spoken earlier raised a trembling hand. What do you want from us, Ambassador? Why are you here?
Elena straightened.
I am here to deliver a message. Humanity will not seek to join your council. We will not try to become a major power in your politics. We will not attempt to conquer or control. When this war is over, we will return to our own space and continue building the civilization we want to build. But she continued, and her voice grew harder. You should all understand that there are lines that cannot be crossed. Unprovoked aggression against civilian populations. Genocide, slavery. If we see these things happening in the galaxy, we will act. Not because we want power, but because we cannot stand by while innocents suffer. Zilthan spoke carefully. You would appoint yourselves as judges over the galaxy. No. Elena shook her head. We do not want to rule anyone. We simply want to live in peace. But we have learned through bitter experience that peace sometimes must be defended. That evil does not stop simply because you ask it to. That sometimes the only way to protect the innocent is to destroy those who threaten them. She met Zilthan's eyes. The Krivari conquered 11 species before us. Where was the council then? Where was justice for those civilizations? You stood by and did nothing because the Krivari were useful to you, because they kept other species afraid and obedient. No one argued. The accusation hung in the air. We are not your police, Elena concluded. We are not your army. We are simply a species that knows what it is capable of and chooses to use that capability only when absolutely necessary. The Thvari made it necessary. We hope no one else ever will. She turned and walked toward the exit. At the door, she paused and looked back. In 3 weeks, the Krivari military will be completely dismantled. We will establish a temporary administration to ensure the transition is peaceful. When their society has stabilized, we will help them rebuild. not as conquerors but as neighbors. That is the human way. She paused. Remember this, counselors. Remember what happens when you mistake mercy for weakness. Remember what happens when you ignore warnings and choose violence. Then she was gone. Across Creary space, human forces continued their systematic work. Shipyards collapsed. Weapons factories went dark. Military mines were emptied. The empire that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries was being taken apart piece by piece. And through it all, not a single civilian was harmed. The humans were true to their word. They were not conquerors. They were not destroyers. They were something far more frightening. They were judges, and their judgment was final. 1 year had passed since the end of the war. The galaxy had changed in ways that no one had expected. The Creevy Empire no longer existed. In its place was the Creevy Protectorate, a collection of worlds under joint human and council supervision. The former conquerors were learning slowly and painfully how to be something other than warriors. Human administrators worked alongside local leaders to build schools, hospitals, and infrastructure. Food shipments arrived regularly from Earth. Reconstruction programs employed millions. It was not kindness. It was strategy. The humans understood that crushing an enemy completely only created future enemies. They had learned this lesson many times in their own history, so they chose a different path. They dismantled the Creve military, but they helped the Creevy people. They showed former enemies that there was a better way to exist. Some Crevari hated them for it. Others, especially the younger generations, began to see possibilities they had never imagined before. In the Galactic Council chamber, a new platform had been added. It was placed at the same level as the original 12. Neither higher nor lower. Ambassador Elena Vance stood upon it, representing humanity's first official seat on the council. High Arbiter Zilthan called the session to order. His scales had returned to their normal silver color, but there was a new weariness in his black eyes. He looked at the human ambassador with a respect that had not existed before. The council recognizes Ambassador Vance of the United Earth Government, he announced. We welcome humanity as a full member of the Galactic Council. Elena bowed her head slightly. Thank you, High Arbiter. Humanity accepts this position with gratitude and humility. Zilthan's mouth curved in what might have been a smile. Humility, an interesting word choice given recent events. Recent events are exactly why humility is important. Elena replied, We have demonstrated what we can do. We have no desire to do it again. Humanity does not want to be a dominant power in this galaxy. We want to be good neighbors. The crystalline counselor spoke up. You have conditions, though. You expressed them before. We do. Elena nodded. We will participate in this council. We will engage in trade and diplomacy. We will share technology and knowledge. But we will not be used as a weapon by other species. We will not fight wars for your political interests. And we will not ignore atrocities simply because they happen far from our own space. She looked around the chamber. There are certain things we cannot accept. Genocide, enslavement, the deliberate destruction of civilian populations. If we see these things, we will act. Regardless of what this council decides, this is not negotiable. Zilthan exchanged glances with the other counselors. Finally, he nodded. These conditions are acceptable. We do not wish to see what happens when humanity acts again. The session continued with diplomatic matters. Trade agreements were discussed. Border arrangements were finalized. Scientific exchanges were proposed. It was the ordinary business of civilizations learning to work together. But underneath all of it, everyone in the chamber knew that something fundamental had changed. The humans sat among them now, quiet and polite and reasonable. They smiled at jokes. They compromised on minor points. They behaved exactly like any other diplomatic species. And yet, every counselor remembered the videos from the war. The Crevari fleets vanishing in flashes of light. The shipyards crumbling. The systematic dismantling of an empire in 3 weeks. The cold efficiency of soldiers who did not stop when wounded, who adapted faster than any species had ever seen. Who fought with a terrible focus that left no room for mercy until the battle was won. Humanity was polite. Humanity was reasonable. Humanity preferred peace. But humanity was also something else entirely. After the session ended, Elena was approached by an unexpected visitor. The great library AI, that ancient intelligence that had spoken during the crisis, requested a private audience. They met in a small room off the main chamber where floating lights drifted through the air and the walls displayed images of stars. "Ambassador Vance," the AI said. Its voice was gentle, almost warm. "I have a question that I believe only a human can answer." Elena sat down on a curved bench. "Ask your species restrains itself with laws, ethics, cultural traditions. You teach your children that violence is wrong. You build institutions specifically designed to prevent war. These restraints have held for centuries now. But they are artificial. They are choices your species makes each generation." The AI paused. "What happens if those restraints ever fail?" Elena was quiet for a long moment. She looked at the stars displayed on the walls. She thought about the history of her species, the wars they had fought, the weapons they had built, the times they had come so close to destroying themselves completely. "That is the question we ask ourselves every day." She finally said, "It is the question that keeps our leaders awake at night. It is the question we teach in every school, discuss in every philosophy class, debate in every government." She turned to face the AI directly. "We know what we are. We know the monster that lives inside us. Every human carries it. The capacity for violence beyond measure. The ability to become something terrible when pushed far enough. And yet you control it." The AI observed. "We try."
Elena smiled.
But it was not a happy smile. "We work very hard to control it. We build systems and traditions and beliefs specifically to keep the monster locked away. Every generation teaches the next about the horrors of war. So they will never forget why we must avoid it." She paused. "But you asked what happens if the restraints fail. If somehow someday humanity stops holding itself back. If the monster is truly set free." "Yes." Elena looked at the stars again. "I do not know. I hope we never find out. But I can tell you this. We are aware of the danger. We guard against it constantly. Not because we fear what others might do to us, but because we fear what we might do to others." The AI was silent for a moment. Then it spoke again. "I have studied thousands of species over millions of years. Most species do not think this way. They do not build chains for themselves. They do not fear their own capabilities. They simply act according to their nature. Humanity is different." Elena agreed. "We understand our nature too well to trust it. That understanding is our greatest strength and our heaviest burden." The AI made a sound that might have been a sigh. "Then perhaps there is hope for this galaxy after all. A species that fears itself more than it fears others. That restrains its own power by choice. That shows mercy even when it has no need to. Such a species might truly change things for the better." Elena stood up. "That is what we hope. That is what we work toward every day. Not to be conquerors, but to be good, not to rule, but to help. Not to destroy, but to build." She walked toward the door, then paused and looked back. "But remember this, our mercy is a choice. Our peace is a choice. If anyone forces us to make a different choice, we will. And the galaxy has now seen what happens when we do." She left the ancient AI alone with its thoughts. In the months that followed, a new saying spread through the galaxy. It started among the Kravari survivors, whispered by warriors who had faced human soldiers in combat and somehow lived. It spread to trading posts and diplomatic stations. It was taught in military mize and discussed in council chambers. The council's historical records on humanity were updated. The old entry had red humans Category 7 species, territorial, fragile, risk-averse, minimal threat. The new entry was quite different. Humans Apex Category, highly social, extremely adaptable, possess unparalleled capacity for both violence and mercy. Exercise extreme caution in all interactions. Do not mistake their restraint for inability. Do not mistake their mercy for weakness. Above all, do not give them a reason to stop being merciful. And at the bottom, added by some unknown hand, was the saying that had spread across the stars. Humans do not fear war. War fears humans, but humanity fears itself most of all, and that is the only thing keeping the rest of us safe. In her quarters on Nixura Prime, Ambassador Elena Vance read the updated entry and allowed herself a small smile. It was not entirely accurate. She thought humanity was more complicated than any record could capture, but it was close enough. She turned off her display and looked out the window at the alien stars. Somewhere out there, human colonies were growing. Human children were being born on new worlds. Human civilization was spreading slowly and peacefully across the galaxy. They had won their war. They had proven their strength. Now came the harder task, proving that they could be trusted with that strength. Proving that the monster could stay locked away. Proving that humanity could be what it chose to be rather than what it was capable of being. It would take generations. It would never truly be finished. But Elena believed they could do it. They had come so far already. And if they ever failed, if the chains ever broke, if the monster ever escaped completely, well, that was a problem for another day. For now, there was peace. And humanity would fight to keep it, even if they had to fight themselves. Write YouTube SEO with keyword title, tags, description.